In today's episode of Manabonded, Zach tries to make sense of modern Magic the Gathering.
Magic is overwhelming right now, like as someone who played back in the day.
Nate decides on a radical form of protest.
Basically kill myself before they could kill me. It's just a form of protest.
Josh gives the inside scoop on losing at CEDH. We also can give an opponent interaction for an ongoing stack battle. Hello everyone and welcome to Manabonded, an all-new Magic the Gathering advice show. I am your host Joshua, and I'm joined by two amazing co-hosts right here with me, Zach and Nate. Say hello, you guys.
Hello.
Hello.
So we are a new to the block at Magic the Gathering podcast, and we are going to be answering any and all the questions that you have to ask us.
Yeah.
And look, we're very new to this. We are like so new. I don't think any of us really have experience with audio recording. I don't have experience with audio editing. The only thing we have experience with is yapping. And so that's what we're here to do.
And at Magic the Gathering.
And very much Magic the Gathering. We have been playing for quite a long time between the three of us.
Yep.
I'd say at least a combined 40 years of experience between the three of us, with each of us at least having at least a decade of experience in this game. So yeah, we're going to go through. Let's, just as a first episode formality, I'm going to introduce myself, and then I'll have Zach and Nate introduce themselves as well. So yeah, like I said, I'm Joshua. I've been playing since original Theros set. That was my first set I really got into Magic with. I've been loving the game since. Started out as a 60-card tabletop player, just playing kitchen table Magic. Discovered Commander with the 2013 Commander decks, and have stuck with it since. I like to play big dumb spells. I like to play big dumb creatures. I like to make things go boom. And most of all, I love Storm, and I will not apologize for that.
Cool. My name is Zach. I have been playing since my friend got me into Magic with his very old cards. I remember like the phasing crocodile. I can't remember his name, but I don't know what set that is either. But I do remember specifically the first set that I do remember is like Gate Crash back in the day, and we'd go buy packs for Gate Crash. And then I stopped playing kind of around New Theros block, and then I've got back into Magic again with March of the Machines. So
I'm Nate. I've been playing Magic since all the way back in Invasion block, back in Old Border, before it was even close to being thought of as retro and cool. I played in middle school and got taught by some friends that I did after school art program with, and then I started actually buying cards in Kamigawa block. So I am a old school Kamigawa stan. I will not take the Kamigawa slander that it is a bad set. It is a fantastically flavorful set that has a ton of cards that see play across a ton of different formats. I think it gets a bad rap just because it came after the insanity that was Mirrodin block. I also like playing big dumb spells. I like Commander for that reason, and I like making a Rube Goldberg machine where I got to do all kinds of dumb fun stuff and have a crazy board that it's hard to keep track of everything going on.
Nate here, our resident Magic the Gathering boomer, who likes to make his boards as complicated as possible, and when you ask where the win condition is, he digs through about 6 to 7 cards to find it.
Yep. I gotta find the right stack it's in.
So yeah, we started this podcast because I kind of looked at some of the existing podcasts, and I love them. I love listening to podcasts like Play to Win. I think Play to Win is a couple of our favorite Magic the Gathering podcasts out there. And I also personally really love the Howling Salt Mine. Great guys over there. And kind of felt inspired by their podcast to start our own. And I wanted to start sort of our own Magic advice show. Now, does this mean that we're going to give you good Magic advice? Absolutely not. Do not expect that. Just because we've been playing for a while does not mean we're all good. So, we are going to take some questions from listeners, and we are going to answer them the best we can, and we are not responsible for what happens when you follow our advice.
Yeah. Now, good advice, Depends on the lens you're looking through. I personally think we got a lot of good advice to give.
Maybe.
I think we have a lot of bad advice to give as well.
I think that's more likely.
That is very true.
Yeah,
That
so
is true.
let's just go ahead and rip off this bandage. Let's get right to our first question. So these questions were collected from various players at two of our local game stores that we love to attend, both Pro Soul Games in Ontario, Oregon, and Phoenix Fire Games in Meridian, Idaho, two of our mainstays. So we collected these questions from the players there. Thank you guys. The first question we got was, why did they remove mana burn? And as the resident boomer here, Nate, do you want to explain to our brand new listeners what mana burn was?
Yeah, so mana burn was a thing where back in ye old times, if you created too much mana and then you moved to a different phase, the mana now just leaves. But before, it was like you overcharged your thing and the energy had to go somewhere, so it rebounded on you. So you would take the damage by it rebounding on you and basically just dealing how much damage it was equal to the amount of you still had floating when you went to a new phase.
Right. So it was sort of what balanced cards like Mana Drain, which is a 2 blue counter spell that adds an amount of the
Exactly.
converted mana cost from the spell you've countered to your own mana pool. And so it was a way to balance that card out. Like, yes, you can counter it, but you will take damage if you don't spend all that mana. It balanced things even like Gaia's Cradle back then, because Gaia's Cradle you tap for a bunch of mana, but if you couldn't use it, that just meant you were also taking a boatload of damage. So they removed mana burn, but the question is, why did they remove mana burn? And Nate, you were playing around these times, so what were your kind of thoughts? Did you play during the mana burn era or not?
Yeah, so as somebody who played in Invasion through, let's see, guess it'd be through Ravnica and then kind of took a mini break for a year or two. I definitely had some games. Back then, I didn't participate in any tournaments since I've been a high schooler. So playing games at lunchtime or after school, and I would go in, and if I was about to lose the game, I'd take the samurai way out and just mana burn myself to get that last little bit in there. So I'd basically kill myself before they could kill me. It's just a form of protest of I'm gonna take myself out so you can't take me out kind of thing.
I think that is such a classic, like, I'm losing a game and I don't want to lose on your terms move to do. When I was
Yeah,
younger playing Call of Duty with one of my friends, I'd go to his house and he was the one who owned it. And so obviously he was better. And so we would play Modern Warfare 2, the original one, not the new one, the back in like 2008, 2010 ish. And I invented a game similar to that style where called it Microwaves Ready. I would get a sticky grenade, which beeped a lot before it detonated. I would run to the nearest wall. I would stick the sticky grenade on the wall, and I would scream, "Microwaves ready," and then it would explode and kill me because I was mad that he was beating me at the game.
yeah. I
Fair.
mean, I don't know if I ever did it out of like anger. I think it was just as a joke to do that. I mean, I
I do
think.
that with Ancient Tomb and like Mana Confluence every so often, where it's like, oh,
Uh,
we got 2 life left.
Can't take
yeah,
me
yeah.
if I take myself.
That is,
Exactly.
that is definitely the closest we get to mana burn in modern days. I mean, unless you're playing your lock, then your lock's like I'm bringing back old school rules.
Right.
So,
So when did you find out that the mana burn rule changed?
I think it actually changed when I was on a break from Magic. So I played through Ravnica City of Guilds, and then I missed like what a lot of people view as the really good stuff after that. I didn't really get any of Time Spiral, Planar Chaos, any of that stuff, or Larwin Block until later on. Luckily, it was back still in a time when Magic was relatively cheap for older stuff. So after 2011, I was able to go back and buy a bunch of that stuff. So I didn't really know that mana burn had changed. I think I don't. Do we know when mana burn changed?
The Magic 2010 core set back in July 2009.
2009.
It
Yeah,
feels
so
like
that would
forever
have.
ago.
Yeah, that I mean, it's it's 15 years ago. No, 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been on the time I was on my break. And I think I would have learned about that when I was on my mission and I was playing with some of the missionaries out there in Colorado. Yeah, because we mostly did casual stuff before that. I remember when the legendary rule became a thing. That was really interesting because before the legendary rule, you could just have multiple big old legendary guys. They're just cool legends. Either that or that's when the people who taught me how to play learned it. I don't really know exactly when the
Right.
legendary rule happened either. I also remember equipment becoming a thing and thinking that was one of the coolest things ever.
It's one of those things that just kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
No,
And then
equipment are sweet.
yeah, Planeswalkers shortly after that.
So, you're very much, I would say, happy to see it gone though. Like it wasn't.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't exactly a fun rule to have.
No, for sure. As a person who loves crazy massive board states, I tend to make in some decks a ridiculous amount of mana that if mana burn was around, I would not be able to pull off. I would just accidentally kill myself a lot.
Zach, what's your take on mana burn and the fact that it is no longer a thing?
I never played with Mana Burn. I've heard about it, but never had the opportunity to play with it. We do have an old school Magic group here in Boise that plays like from Alpha to like Fallen Empires or something like that, and I think that they still play with Mana Burn
Really?
Interesting.
just because that's how the rules were. But I think they do the newer Mulligans, so I don't know how that works.
That seems a little silly. Almost sounds like pre-modern.
They're like, I accept
Yeah,
some
yeah, a
rules
little bit.
changes were good, but not others, and the rule change that they don't deem as good was mana burn changing. Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, but so like that is an actual strategy you can play is to like use icy manipulator type effects where like you can tap or untap a permanent and like tap their city of brass to deal them 2 damage because they can't use their mana. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting to see the different kind of strategies. And then it is pretty interesting that they brought back mana burn in a way with that one commander guy.
Yes,
With your luck.
Yearlock of Scorched Thresh, I believe, who just
Yep.
his first line of text or his second line of text is literally just re-adding mana burn to the game, which I believe the official way
Yeah.
it says is something like if mana.
A player loses unspent mana. Sorry, a player losing unspent mana causes that player to lose that much life.
It's such an interesting design because it's basically saying, hey, for all you old Magic heads who loved the mana burn effect and hate the fact that all these new players are saying that it was such a bad rule, well, why don't you make them try it out for once? You know, here you go. Here's mana burn again. Figure it out. It was a very interesting rule. I'm not sad to see that it's not a thing anymore. I think it was kind of a limiter on the game, honestly, and I think that if mana burn had still been a thing, I think Commander would look very different
Mm-hmm.
and maybe not have grown to the popularity it is now, or have like a lot of the popular cards be as good.
That's one thing I definitely got to give props to Wizards for is over the years they have tried some different rules and they've realized, oh, these rules are not great, and so we don't have to deal with them anymore. Like the other one that comes to mind is damage using the stack.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a wild time where you could block with a guy, put the damage on the stack, and in response to the damage, boomerang it back to your hand so your guy wouldn't die, but he'd still deal damage.
Yeah, and there were also red creatures, right? That like you could sacrifice it to deal damage, and so you'd block damage on the stack, sacrifice it, deal more damage, potentially killing an
Exactly.
even bigger blocker that would have survived the first go around.
Yeah, like the little 1/1 goblins that you can sack to deal 1 damage to
Right.
any target. Those guys were sick because you just put that 1 damage to the stack and then you can kill their bear that they block with.
Right. Makes them punch up way higher.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, yeah. I think they removed mana burn because it sucked, and it wasn't a fun rule. And they've done it before with rules where they change them because they're not fun, and they'll keep doing it. I think the biggest rules change that I remember was the legend rule changing from being like the legendary creature rule and like, or no, it was the legendary creature uniqueness rule and the planeswalker uniqueness rule or something is how they named it, where
Yep.
You couldn't have two planeswalkers in play at the same time with the same subtype. So where planeswalkers would say it's planeswalker Jace or planeswalker Elspeth, you couldn't have two Elspeths on at the same time. You couldn't have two Jaces on at the same time. And the old legendary creature uniqueness rule applied to the entire battlefield, not just your own side of the
Yep.
battlefield. So back in the day, I remember it being a genuine method people would use of running clones to clone a player's commander because that would kill both of them. You'd basically use yours as a way to remove the other player's commander from the game. Is you just play, I'll play mine, copy yours. Now there's two of us. Guess what? They both die.
And also, outside of Commander, I believe that Phantasmal Image was used kind of as a Doomblade for a bit because of the legendary uniqueness rule. Because you play your Phantasmal Image, make it a copy of their legendary creature that's really good on the board, and then boom, both of them blow up.
Yeah, I believe the Aurelia, the extra combat one, was one that was used as a common example in the early days of Commander in some 60 card formats. Whereas if you needed to get rid of that, just play a cheap clone, it's gone. Or play your own copy of it, and that way you could kill it as well. I'm very happy that one changed. They changed it to just the legendary permanent rule, where you can only have one permanent with the same legendary name as another. You could have as many Jace Planeswalkers as you wanted, as long as they weren't all Jace the Mind Sculptor, right? You could have as many different Aurelias as you wanted, as long as they all weren't named the same. Much, much better change, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And
I think
again,
it's really nice to be able to have everything and all of your favorite Planeswalker cards all in one deck without having to worry about only having one of them out at the same time.
oh yeah,
Right.
like the fact that a lot of people like to build commander decks around a single planeswalker type, and there's even, I think, a commander who encourages that from the Commander Masters precon set. One of the alternates, you name a planeswalker type, and you can double up on the abilities of the planeswalker type for a turn or something. So if that rule hadn't changed, that commander and that style of commander deck would just be completely useless. Because yeah, this is my Jace theme deck. You're going to see one at a time, and if you kill one, then I'll put out the next one. But I can only play one at a time in my Jace theme deck. You know?
Well,
Yeah.
even more so on top of that, as somebody playing Magic at that time and having an okay sized collection, it's a which Jace is my favorite Jace, and I'm just playing that one.
Yeah.
I'm not playing 5 different Jaces because if I ever have 2 of them out at the same time, they blow up. What's the point?
Right.
So I would play one Jace, one Chandra, one Liliana, and just choose my favorite out of each one.
Yeah, Mana Burn's gone. I think we're all happier for it, and I think as long as they change the rules to make things more intuitive and make things a little bit easier to play and understand on the face, I think it's for the better.
I think the thing that they've done recently, a more recent example, so more people would be aware of it, is the change with combat damage on
Right.
how there's no longer the issue of, oh, we're deciding how things line up, we're deciding how we have this whole extra damage thing going on. It's just you get to the end of declare blockers, you move to the damage step, and damage is dealt. Clean up, making it nice and neat.
Yeah, definitely helps out. And on the topic of rules that have been changed to increase sort of how easy they are to understand, that ties into our next question very nicely, which is how do you feel about the potential hybrid mana rules changes? Zach, you want to give a little backstory on this question?
So basically, Wizards is looking at making it so hybrid mana costs, so like if it's a green and a white like split, it could go into any green deck or any white deck instead of just being limited to the color identity being a white and green card. So it'd be opening up a ton of different cards for decks that typically were not able to play them before, as well as turning like Beseech the Queen into a colorless tutor, even though it has 3 black pips. The 2 colorless takes it over and it becomes a colors card, which gives every deck access to some kind of tutor.
I think we might disagree with this a little bit, but personally, I am kind of not a fan of this change. I don't like the potential of this change altering the rules for a couple of reasons. I think visually it is a little confusing to have a card like Boros Reckoner in my blue red deck and then to see that sort of white on there as well. I just don't like, Commander has a lot of the emphasis on the color identity, and that's what I really like to see is the colors matching up and everything looking very visually similar across my board. But having that, and it's a minor thing, but having that just stand out, I don't like the look of it. And I don't necessarily also agree with the fact that, they say these hybrid cards are designed to be fitting in one or the other color. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think that it makes more sense to have them be dual colored cards than cards that could be one or the other. Because I don't think that a green white deck needs access to a Boros Reckoner effect. They have it in Stuffy Doll if they really want it, but having a Boros Reckoner just feels weird in a Selesnya deck.
Yeah, and I think for me, I have kind of like a more neutral or kind of vibe to it. So for me, looking at it, out of the literally tens of thousands of Magic cards that we have printed, there's 487 hybrid mana cards, and that's including cards that have the colored mana in their mana costs. So all of the guild mages, all of the cards from Larawan block that are like, hey, we're this mage for this different thing, the different kindred cards, the different a bunch of different things. And just skimming through one page of them, I'm looking at cards and I'm like, yeah, most of these cards are cards that would fit fine in either of the decks. And I don't see them being a thing that's like, oh yeah, that's broken for the color or that's broken for the other color. I personally don't really want to see the rule change either because it kind of feels like somebody taking a wet hand to the color pie and just kind of doing a swiping smear that mirrors the color identity of Magic. But I'm also like, maybe we could see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a little tough. I'm kind of split on if I like it or not. Like on one hand, I think Commander at its whole is meant to be fun, enjoyable, and like creative. And I think opening that up to more options and more deck building options is always a good thing, especially for a casual or more casual format. Just because why couldn't I play a green white card in my mono white deck if I have 3 white pips to cast it? But at the other hand, I do think it looks kind of weird having off color things in your deck. So just like visually it'd be a little off. But then there's also the argument for like the off colored fetches. They're already kind of in your deck. So and
I
you
see
can run
that. Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
So it's kind of
I,
like
I
similar style.
The other confusion argument that I had, the other confusing thing is that some of these cards that have hybrid mana symbols, you'd think that they are good to go in any deck, but when looking at it, several of the top hybrid cards are not able to be played in just a green or just a black deck. I think the most common example that
right.
people are using is Deathrite Shaman. It costs either a green or a black. It's a hybrid. And so you'd say, oh, it can be in a green or a black deck, but the text box of the card has a green mana symbol and a black mana symbol. So because the text box has the different symbols, it cannot go in just a green or just a black deck. It has to be in a green and black deck. And there's several of these hybrid mana cards that have the same thing. There's the 2 mana instant that I play in my Ruhan of the Fomori deck that gives a creature double strike, and it's one and a red white hybrid, so you'd think it could be in a red or a white deck. But the problem is the other side of that card is a land that taps for a red or a white. So because it has both, it cannot be in just a white or just a red deck. And so I think there's too many of those examples with common cards that people want to play where they'd say like, oh, well, I want to put a Deathrite Shaman in my mono black Endrick Sar deck. And it's like, well, you can't because it does have a green mana symbol there. Even though the hybrid symbol's there, the text box still doesn't let you. And I think that can cause a little bit of confusion.
Right. And I think this kind of goes back to what we were talking about with the thing with mana burn. I think that adding in the confusion of how it works would be more complicated than it's necessarily worth because all the cards people are going to want to play are a lot of them are ones that have those colored mana symbols in their text box and can't be played in the decks they're going to want to play them in. And then a lot of these cards that are able to be played in either or decks, a lot of them already have copies or similar things that we can play in our commander decks. We don't necessarily need an extra copy of the card we're going to be playing. A lot of them do fit this is the theme of that, like Fracturing Gust costs 2, 3 white or green, destroys all artifacts and enchantments in play, You gain 2 life for each
Right.
permanent destroyed this way. Very
Right. That
much
one
a
sort of makes
green
sense.
or a white card. But we've already got green and white cards that do the same thing. Do we
Yeah, we've
really
already
need
In
got
both
effects
colors,
another
yeah.
like,
one? Yeah.
austere command. We've already got effects in green that do a similar thing, Bane of Progress. Is it really worth the effort to fight over a card that already exists in both sides, basically?
There is a few that are the exceptions to that rule. I don't know the name of the card off the top of my head, but the Boros card, not actually Boros, it was from Larwin block, that basically gives you an extra combat phase. And it's a white-red card. Off the top of my head, I can't think of any white cards, just white cards, that give you extra
Right.
combats.
Nor do I think white needs extra combats necessarily. It's not really white's thing.
Right. And then as I'm sitting there, I'm like, that's not really a thing. Like now, Boros, on the other hand, that white red, those colors are very much about, hey, I'm going to control combat. So it being a card that you can play in your red white deck, cool. That makes sense
Yeah,
to
and
me.
even just in like a mono red deck has the
Absolutely.
extra combat effects and things. But allowing mono white to have this one extra combat card just feels weird to me?
Yeah, and like if somebody's playing a deck and they just don't have black at all, and they play Beseech the Queen because it's now like a
Oh, I hate
colorless
that.
card, that feels so weird to me. Like
That
just this
that is
random black card that I assume and looks black to me, but it's now
right.
colorless because it has two colorless over
I
the
I
one
think
black
worse than
pip.
Beseech the Queen in that style of yes, it says it has colors, but it's also just a colorless card now. Reaper King. Reaper King is now just a colorless card that
Yeah,
can go in any deck. Granted, nobody's going to put it in any deck because it's not good without a lot of support. But like the fact that I can have my mono blue Sphinx deck and I'm like, oh yeah, and I'm also running Reaper King. It's like, huh? What? Why? Because you
Yeah.
can now?
That is the big issue with the potential rules change is we've got these niche cases where there's all these cards that are like we can do one or the other, and they've done different others. They've done the 2 mana, we've done colorless mana, we've done other things. So it's like the downside with us potentially having it where every deck that's a 3 or maybe a lot of 4s. I don't think CDH is going to really run Beseech the
Right.
Queen. Um,
no, yeah,
but 3s and 4s, that's gonna get played a lot because why would I not want a tutor in my mono white deck or my mono red deck? I don't get a whole lot of tutors in those colors, or if I do, they're either hyper specific, like Enlightened Tutor or other search for artifact or enchantment things in white, or I have to gamble in red, where I might not even get the thing
Yeah,
I tutored
which
for.
is just a 1 mana entomb.
yeah.
So
And so I'd rather, is it better to have a one
yeah,
mana entomb in red or a 6 mana tutor? Sometimes you're spending enough mana, you might as well just take the six. I will say, I think in
yeah,
CDH, I
True.
and
think certain decks would love to have access to Manamorphose that didn't have it before. I think there's a couple
absolutely,
like blue red storm decks in like VV and RAL that would love to have
yeah.
Manamorphose in their decks.
Oh,
As
absolutely.
somebody currently playing VV, I would love
Right.
Manamorphose in my deck. Having a cantrip that also makes mana would be so good. I don't have a lot of access to a bunch of those. I have to go through other ways to either get mana or get
Yeah.
cantrips.
Although with VV, anything
Yep.
that gets you cards is also getting you mana because of VV's effect. VV's dumb. But
Yeah, but I'd rather hold off on pressing the VV button until I need to, and Manamorphose says, hey, replace myself, and add 1 to the
yeah.
Storm
On a
Path.
side note, how do you feel about
True.
the VV rebalance in Arena? Did you see that?
I have not seen that. What's
The
the
only
VV
rebalance
rebalance
they
in
did
Arena?
is they changed Vivi's mana button ability to be a tap ability, and they removed the only on your
Hmm.
turn restriction.
Oh,
So now you can
interesting.
use Vivi, but you must tap Vivi. That eliminates you can't use Vivi the same turn you play it, and you can't
Right.
attack with a massive Vivi and also get a bunch of mana out of it. That's taken away as well.
Right.
If Wizards didn't need to make a whole bunch of money, they probably would have printed him that way originally.
That's
Right.
fair.
I also think him having the same thing, having that, and him having haste would have been fine too. Like,
Yep.
if he had to tap for the mana, cool. Granted, I've only played VV 7, 8 times, and it's, in my experience, either VV's dead or I'm winning. And if I'm in a spot where I'm swinging with VV, I'm not in a really good
Right.
spot. I'm definitely going to
Yeah.
do it, if I'm not popping off. But swinging with VV is not high on my list of things I'm
Right.
trying to do when I'm
Not the
playing.
main
That
game
could be
plan.
different though in
Yeah.
standard. I don't know. I don't play a lot of standard at the moment, and I don't know if VV Cauldron uses
Yeah,
VV as like an aggressive piece to attack as well as create mana with.
I wouldn't be surprised if it does. I mean, I'm pretty sure the VV now also somebody who hasn't really seen VV Cauldron played. Um, I'm just gonna go by the name and how I think that it works is that VV Cauldron is doing a lot of I'm gonna get a VV in the bin, and then I'm gonna throw them in the soup, and then we're gonna have all my guys be VVs. So that way you
Yep.
can tap other guys for mana, or you can hit the VV button on other
Right.
guys and get ridiculous amounts of mana.
That's what I think happens. But I haven't touched standard
That would be my
basically
guess.
since I found Commander. So back in my standard day,
Yeah, I
people
like.
were reanimating Hornet Queens with Whip of Erebos.
I mean, you can kind of do that now with
Traxa.
I think Atrax is
well,
out of standard at this point.
yeah, Trax is no longer in standard. She just rotated. You can do it currently with the Superior Spider-Man, the one that's a blue and a
Oh
black.
right.
When it enters the battlefield, you have it be a copy of a creature card in a graveyard, and then you exile that creature card. So that it's kind of a fringe deck now. It popped up and it was popping off pretty hard for a little bit. But basically what it is you play the Bringer of the Last Gift from Ixalan, and you fill up your graveyard with dudes, and then you have that enter as a copy of the Bringer, because the Bringer has a enter if cast
Oh
ability.
true.
So it entering and you having cast it, you now get a living end. A lot of times in standard, that's gonna basically be next turn you're
No,
dead.
it's brutal. It's
So
That's
brutal in
pretty good.
Commander, so it's got to be
Yeah.
brutal in standard
right.
with the right setup.
You don't get quite as much time to set up in standard as you do for commander. I do like playing standard partially because I love I love going to store championships. They have done a lot of really cool promos for
Yeah.
those. And then also I do miss having that 1v1 kind of vibe that you don't get when you play commander.
Yeah, I've considered dipping my toes into different 1v1 formats. I recently saw that a Jeskai Blink deck won a modern Pro Tour, and that has piqued my interest because I love Blink as a strategy. And
That deck
it's
is
filled
crazy.
with like blink effects and Flage and the Quantum Riddlers, and it just looks so interesting to me, and I'm very interested in trying it. So I don't know, maybe I'll throw it together on like Cockatrice or something and give it a test whirl.
Yeah.
It looks kind of fun.
To kind of go back to the hybrid mana cost thing,
Oh yeah,
I'm reading a
we're
lot
just
of
gonna
research.
resolve the
Yeah,
stack real
resolve the
quick
stack,
and
get all the
go back
talk.
to the
Yeah.
hybrid mana.
It does say that it can be paid with 2 mana or with a black pip, and then this card's converted mana cost is 6. So it is using the 2 colors mana as the main mana cost.
True.
So I think that is an argument to show that it is like more of a colors card than a black card. And then
Right.
with how good lands are right now, it's so easy for any deck to make a black mana if needed. Like you got Mana Confluence, Exotic Orchard, treasure tokens. It's like having to pay the black in a non-black deck really isn't that bad of a deal
Right.
anyways.
Right. I think the main thing keeping it out of CDH range is the fact that it's the triple mana at least, and then also you're
Yeah.
getting a card that's less than or equal to the number of lands you control. Whereas in, it's going to be probably 2-3 mana, hopefully, that you're
Find a
going
2 or 3 mana card, yeah.
Yeah. But if I'm going for that, I'd rather just play, one of the suite of tutors that I already get to play in
Right.
CDH.
We have so many good tutors.
I don't think I need an 8.
Is this something Lumra would want?
I
Already has a ton of
maybe.
lands.
Probably, actually. It'd help you get one of your lands to combo off.
Yeah. And you already have so many lands, so you can basically find anything you want in your deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially with a lot of Wumra's like higher cost stuff. Man, Wumra's a weird deck, man. I'm not gonna pretend to know anything about what goes on with that deck.
Part of me wants to build that deck just because it's so off the wall.
That's how I felt when I built Tyam. I love
and then
I love
popped
Tyam
off.
because of the crazy nonsense you can pull off with that nobody knows how it works, and most of the time I don't even know how it works. But when it does, it's beautiful.
Yep. You just throw a bunch of stuff on the table and be like, how can I make
it's like,
this
all right,
work?
I got a million counters here, a million creatures here, a lot of mana here. I don't know, man. I think this works. Let's go.
Gotta have a win here somewhere.
Exactly. Just turn 4, I've got half my library on the board, and I'm just like, yeah, something here's gonna win me the game, I'm sure. Let me just hang on, give me a
I
second.
guess
I'll find it.
that
I'll find
takes me
it.
to a little bit of a side tangent question. How does it feel to be a person in CDH who doesn't really interact a whole lot? Because
As an Abzan deck who has no
yeah,
reaction,
very
basically
little.
reaction pieces ever. Yeah, I mean it's definitely an interesting game. Playing a CEDH deck where my game plan is very much not very disruptive. I suppose I don't have very many reactive pieces. I should say. I think the only few reactive pieces I run endurance in my list. Because there's a couple loops you can pull with it, and because it's a really funny gotcha to people who try to win with Thoracle or just like breach lines or anything. It's a really great way to kind of take away their graveyard, take away their resources from them so they cannot continue. I also run Aven Interrupter, which was like a
Absolutely.
godsend from Outlaws of Thunder Junction. That one, if you guys don't know what it is a 1 and 2 white mana, 1 white for a 2/2 or a 2/3 flyer with flash. When it enters the battlefield, you can exile a spell and it becomes plotted. Plotted means whoever owns the spell can cast it on a later turn without paying its mana cost. And then the Aven Interrupter has the second ability of spells your opponents cast from exile cost 2 mana less. So
Two
it
mana more.
or 2 mana more. Sorry, yes, 2 mana more. Yeah, holy cow! I don't want to give them a discount. That would suck. No, it costs them 2 mana more. So the great part about Aven Interrupter is somebody can, say, oh, I'm going to try to remove your Tyam, and I can quickly reanimate Aven Interrupter and stop that, right? But it's a very defensive piece, and that's kind of most of what I do. The only other interaction I play is stacks and limiting the amount of spells that can be played per turn, because my commander is mostly about activating abilities, not about casting spells. When it comes to games where I worry where we're going to need interaction, that is where every CEDH player's most underused asset comes into play, which is yapping. I basically tell the table, hey guys, this is going to be a problem, or hey, we need to have something for this. Tie-in players are very practiced in communicating what they can do and what they can't do. There's a very popular include that I have not added because I'm not sold on it yet, but maybe it's good. There's a very popular include in the Tie-in lists called Pulse Mage Advocate, which is a 3 mana white creature where you can tap it, return up to 3 cards from an opponent's graveyard to their hand, and you return a creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. So a lot of Tie-in players see that as not only do we tap it and effectively get a free Tie-in activation out of it, we also can give an opponent interaction for an ongoing stack battle that may affect us negatively or may, someone else might be about to win the game. And I see, Zach, you've got a Force of Will in your bin and another blue card. And I say, Zach, I'm going to give you those back and I'm going to activate my Pulse Mage Advocate. And you go, thank you. You stop the win. And in the middle of all of that, I have gained advantage as well because now I have put another creature onto the battlefield. And sometimes that creature I put onto the battlefield could be something that can help push me for a win when the stack is more clear. So,
Also, not to mention that you've got rid of one blue card from Zach's deck and made him lose a life.
yeah,
So,
and Pulse Mage is seen
yeah.
as like a very political tool, right? There's even a green version of it that some people like to play, which like destroys enchantments and also returns the thing or something. I don't remember. Maybe it like returns
That
three
does seem
cards
pretty
to
cool.
destroy enchantments. Yeah, it's a very interesting political piece. Like I said, I really would like to play more CEDH. I don't get the chance to play more, not since moving down here to Utah. I've been so busy, and my grave sleep schedule has not really allowed me to go to many tournaments or
Yeah.
events, and I really would like to. I really just need to set up a spell table system for my computer, set up a space for that. But yeah, Tyam it's a very interesting deck because on the surface it seems like we can't really interact too much, but the trick with playing a Tyam deck and the trick with playing any sort of non-blue deck is that your interaction is convincing everyone else to use their interaction. Like trying to downplay your own strengths, downplay your own board state, while also being very aware of what the board state looks like. Looking at a Kinnan player who's just put, a Moon Silver Key on the board, or a Blue Farm player who's got a Mystic Remora sitting there, being very aware to the table and being like, hey guys, these need to be handled because these guys are going to do very powerful things here in a second if that's not done. And meanwhile, they look at your board and they're like, yeah, but don't you have good stuff going on? And I'm like, can you tell me what my stuff does? And they just say no, and they move on, and they ignore you most of the time. Most of the time. I do have to run
Most of the
specific
time.
anti-Gilded Drake tech because Zach loves to Gilded Drake my time every time.
I
It's
mean,
true.
hey, I would do the exact same thing.
No, I had to put in
You
like
can't
three
win with time
cards.
if you lose time.
I had to put in like
Yep.
3 cards to protect Hyatt because you guys kept taking him every time. And I'm like, no, 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 we need to stop this.
Right. I mean, I don't have a Gilded Drake, but I do love playing Gilded Drake at home,
Right,
which
Storm
does
Chaser.
hit most things in CDH.
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much the same.
yeah, it is just
Yep.
Gilded Drake for CEDH, but cheaper.
Yep.
It is so much better.
So yeah, overall, do you guys think a hybrid mana rule change would be a positive or a negative?
As much as I hate to admit it, and I don't want this rule change to happen, I'm going to make that clear. I don't want this change to happen because I don't like it. I will admit, if it does happen, I really don't think it's going to make that big of a deal. Like we've said, there's 400 cards in Magic that have hybrid mana costs. Less than that are actually eligible to be in either or and not and, as the previous rule state. And I think so few of these cards are actually going to make homes in a lot of decks that ultimately it really won't matter. But if it doesn't matter, then I say don't change it. Just leave it.
Yeah. I think the big reason why Wizards is trying to go for it is because they'd like to open up the design space.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm like, well, we don't really need to do that because what you've been doing with hybrid mana is just making kind of generic creatures in those colors that we have options for in the 2 other things. So
Right.
I don't feel like we need to open up the design space. And to go back to the metaphor I used, put a wet hand on the color pie and twist it to smear all the colors.
No, it's a restriction. Having this when trying to design for Commander is a restriction, and to use their head designer's favorite words against them, restrictions breed creativity. So they can
Yep.
just get creative about how they want to work around the hybrid mana system and not change it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But going back to the my thoughts on it, I'm also kind of like it's gonna be more of a headache for me as a judge than it is going to be a
Oh yeah,
headache for seeing and play.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, as someone else who also has judge experience, it will be a nightmare to explain to players because I know the moment it changes, there's gonna be a green deck or a black deck that tries to run Deathrite Shaman, and I'm gonna have to walk over and be like, "Sorry, man, that's an illegal card. You can't have that in a just green deck or a just black deck. It's got to be both." And having to explain, well,
Yeah.
yes, I know that symbol is hybrid, and I know they just changed the rule, but the text box still has that, and explaining to some players where like maybe I play the what is the one I keep thinking of is from Ravnica City of Guild. No, what was the second Ravnica set? What was that called?
Uh,
There was that one, Gate Crash and Dragon's Maze. What was that one called?
oh no. No, I'm pretty sure it's Ravnica City. Return to Ravnica.
Return to Ravnica. Duh, that
Yeah,
makes way
return
more
to
sense.
Ravnica.
No, the one from Return to Ravnica where it's a green-white hybrid for this like Dryad something or other that can exile instants and sorceries as they enter the graveyard. Right? It's just
Right.
this really weird hate piece, but I can imagine playing that in like a mono white deck that's built to kind of control the board and stacks out a little bit, and somebody yelling at me being like, "Hey, that's a green white card." I'm like, "Well, it would be, yes, but now it's a white card because it's in my white deck."
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a whole big thing. As someone with judge experience who would like to continue having judge experiences, I don't want to deal with that. I just don't.
Yeah.
No, completely
Yeah.
understandable. I think the differences of like the card having a pip in the ability box compared to just being a hybrid mana cost would be too difficult for people to understand as easily. But as always, I mean, if you're playing kitchen table Magic, do whatever you want. Who
Oh yeah,
cares?
Right.
God,
Like play the game however you want to play. And if
absolutely.
your
Yeah.
group's okay with you running it, run whatever you want to run, and then maybe you
Right.
guys can learn how to use the hybrid mana cost or if it should be changed.
Yeah, no, absolutely. They're definitely like when you're playing kitchen table command or just kitchen table in general, the rules are out the window, man. If you've got a collected play group who just wants to do dumb stuff, I don't care. I really don't. If you're having fun, have fun. But for the
Right.
That's the point
broader
of the game.
audience, yeah. For the broader audience, no. Let's just leave it with the
Yeah.
currently simple rules. And it is simpler, right? To just look at a card. The card has a green color, and the card is also black colored. So that means it is a green and a black card. It just makes more sense. It's so much easier to understand.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. third and final question for the night, and this one might take us a little bit of time to get through because I'm sure we've all got some feelings about this one. We were asked by one of the players at these stores, how do you keep up with the rate of Magic product coming out, both mentally and financially? So I think this comes from the since we've been playing, right? Back when we started,
Yeah,
there was what, 4 sets a year, maybe 3.
3 to 4 sets a year.
Yeah, 3 to 4 sets, standard legal sets a year, with maybe
Yep.
one
Yep.
masters or like modern set, right? Things like Modern Masters 1, Modern Masters 2015, stuff like that. There were these
Right.
reprint modern sets that would
Uh,
show up in the middle, but mostly we got like 3 to 4 standard sets. And for some of you Commander players out there, though this is maybe horrifying, we got one set of Commander precons every year. One. All right, we got 5 Commander decks in 2011.
well,
Then we got 5 Commander decks in 2013, 5 Commander decks in 2014, 5 Commander decks in 2015, 4 Commander decks in 2016, and 4 Commander decks in 2017. It was, you get them once a year. It was like the Christmas season for Commander players. We would just get this one burst of Commander product, and we all loved it. We all loved it so much. It was so fun. We would all buy like the whole set and play them all against each other. It was a great time, except for the one time with the Commander 2017 where we all played against each other with each of the decks, and I made people walk out with the Wizards deck. That was on me, but that was very fun, and I stand by that.
that deck was very unbalanced
Well, the fact that I
in
had
a
the giant
vacuum.
that'll like tap a wizard, bounce a permanent, and just nobody could play. You'd try to board wipe me, and I'd
I
bounce my
mean,
whole board back to
yeah.
my hand and replay it out. Oh, that was gross.
And then the vampires had 3 vampires that were below 4 mana.
Right.
Um,
Not
the
built
the
very
cats
well.
was kind of balanced between equipment and cats, so it wasn't super focused.
No.
And then the dragons was
C17
just
was weird.
ridiculously high mana, so it's hard to get rolling.
So if none of the decks killed each other by like turn 7, the dragons would finally have a board to try and win, you know. Anyway, but
Yeah.
we got very limited product for most of our Magic experience. About the first half of it, we got very limited product per year, and so it felt very easy to keep up with it. Right, we were just playing the set that came out, adding a couple of the cards that we wanted, and then we'd sit on that for about a month or two, and then the next set would come out. We'd say, "Oh, cool, new toys," and we'd try that for a little bit, right? But since, I don't know, about 2020, 2021 ish, they've really
Yep.
ramped up the production of product, going from 4 standard sets to 5 standard sets to 6 standard sets. And on top of those 6 standard sets, we're even getting more in between sets. We started getting Modern Horizons back in what, 2021? We got Commander Masters in 2023, probably. These dates are completely off the dome. You fact checked me, please. Um, but like, there's so many more products coming in and out, right? And it's so hard to keep up with from a mental state of just ingesting all of these new cards that come in, right? And so, Nate, you've been playing the longest. You saw the slow roll for most of the time. How are you kind of handling keeping up with all this?
So, yeah, to kind of answer that question, then go into how I feel about it. Back for most of my time playing Magic, it was the thing where you got your spoilers, and then you got the set, and you gotta hang on to that set for about 2 months of solid, like, hey, I'm brewing, I'm playing standard, playing some commander, I'm doing drafts, I'm doing stuff. Cool. That's what I have this for. And then you start getting spoilers for the new set. So it's like 2 months solid of having a set before you're even really thinking about the next one. Then you got a month leading up to the set.
Yeah, and spoiler season used to be a lot more
Yeah,
concise
it's
too,
like
right?
two
Like
weeks.
spoiler season was
Yeah,
just like two
yeah.
weeks and then it's up.
You'd have 2 weeks, and then you'd have the full set like the Monday or the Friday before the set came out. And then you'd be like, cool, I'm going to the pre-release. We're doing that. Whereas then now,
Yep.
we have spoilers for all the way out to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the second or
Yep.
third set for next year, and we're still not
Yeah.
done getting spoilers for Avatar, the set that comes out next week.
I'm not convinced we got all the spoilers for Spider-Man, and that set came out 3 or 4
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Can't even walk
And
around
so
without tripping on a spoiler.
my overall response to the
Yeah.
how do you keep up with Magic product nowadays? You don't. You just don't. It's
Yeah.
unless you
Can't.
are like unless this is your main thing, and you have a lot of disposable income to throw at this card game. You have to pick and choose. You just have to. And we're at a point now with Magic where we've got so much universes beyond. We've got so many secret layers that are doing different arts and different things. I don't feel like it's a bad thing to have to pick and choose. It's like we all can participate and we can all play Magic. And then also a big thing that the professor is always talking about is if you want to keep up with Magic, don't buy packs. Like buying
100%.
packs
Yeah,
is fun.
absolutely.
I love cracking packs. I usually crack a collector box every set that comes out, or most set that comes out. Spider-Man, I did not do that, and Avatar, I'm going to be doing 2 or 3. But
That's fair.
singles is the way to go. Like looking at stuff, looking at a set. We can go with Spider-Man. That's been one we talked about. If you give me a second, I will look up and see what prices are on some stuff. But my main thing is you can't really keep up with it. So maybe we can get Zach's opinion on it while I try and find some stuff from the Spider-Man, so I can kind of talk about prices.
Yep. Magic is overwhelming right now. Like as someone who played back in the day, it is
Yes.
a lot to consume, both mentally and financially. Just trying to figure out what every card in every set does, or is this card going to be good in my deck, or should I even try to get this card? Especially in like standard environment with so many cards currently in the pool, it's hard to know what in the next set's gonna break an older card that wasn't very good, but now because of this card is now insane. Like the VV Cauldron deck that came out because of Final Fantasy. Like Cauldron was already pretty good, and then Vivi's like,
Yeah.
hey, let's just rank it up to 1,000. um,
Right.
and so it's so
Yeah.
difficult to know all of your options in card like the card pool, and keeping track of all of the cards available makes it really difficult. And it's not even possible to really keep up with everything to like a perfect extent unless you are
Mhm.
full-time professional Magic player or something like that, and that's like only your job to know everything. But then
Yeah, to stay up to date and stay invested.
I'm
Right.
still baffled by how much Magic knowledge my brain consumes and like has. So like I don't know, maybe we are
Right.
capable of understanding everything, because there's so many things that I shouldn't remember, but I do.
Right.
Right.
What is falling out of my head because of the excessive amount of magic information going in? Like, what am I losing here, right? I can't have this much space in my head.
Exactly.
Okay, so I did find some prices for Spider-Man. Most recent set. It's had a little bit of time to cool off. We got Avatar coming out next week. I'm
Is it
super
next
excited for that
week?
pre-release. It is next week.
It is
It is
next. Oh my
That's
god.
yep,
insane.
it's
We
next
just
week.
got Spider-Man.
Uh Pre-release is the 14th, the weekend of the 14th, and then the actual full set release is the 21st, which
Maybe I
is
can
the
do a
thing
Friday
that
pre-release. Let's see.
yeah, I think Wizards of the Coast needs to just say, "Hey, we don't have a pre-release. We just have a release."
I
Because
thought
Yeah.
they already said that. I thought they tried that with March of the Machines or
I
Phyrexia All Will Be One or
I don't
something.
know. They sell out. You can buy anything Magic related on pre-release now. It's just still called the pre-release, which is wild
Yeah.
to me.
That's so
Um,
weird.
yeah, that's a different thing that we can talk about another time. But I remember old school pre-releases.
Oh yeah.
But Spider-Man, now that it's cooled off a little bit, we've had time for stuff to get out there in the field. Outside of super cool special border cards, which you can get in normal packs, they're just a lot rarer. The most expensive card in the set is the Soulstone,
Oh yeah.
and
Understandable.
that's $40.
What? Oh,
That's
40. I
40
was
that's a
thinking
bucks.
60,
yeah,
70. So that's
that's
fallen quite a
that's
bit.
spendy for some people who play Magic, no doubt
For
about
me.
it.
For
Yeah,
me.
that is still spendy, but that is like the chase card from the set. The next most expensive card, $10, then
Oof.
$9, then
Yeah, what
eight
is it? Like
dollars.
one of the Cosmic Spider-Man's probably one of the bigger ones, and Gwenum's up there.
So
Uh
Norman Osborn is the second most
oh
expensive card in the
right,
set.
yeah.
Then Anti Venom, then Gwenum. But
Yep.
there's tons of cards that are more expensive than that, like the different arts of the Soul Stone,
Special
the
arts. Yeah.
spectacular Spider-Man, the cool Peter Parker, the cool Eddie Brock,
Right. So the
then
alternate versions are
the
all
alternate
up
arts.
there.
Yeah, exactly. Alternate arts are spendy, but those are collector packs. And if you're fine with buying just normal versions of things, buying singles is 100% the way to go. Because some of the
Yeah,
most like hyped, looked after cards in this set are $4 or
Absolutely.
less. Like Peter
yeah,
Parker, he's a solid commander. Like I don't know if you guys saw a recent episode of Game Nights where Josh played uh, Peter Parker. You do some silly things with that. I know Gwen Stacy is another one that people are really hyped about, and Miles
Yep.
Morales. All of those are under $5.
yeah. Gwenum is what, $8 you said?
Yeah,
And
Gwenum's $8.
that's a
Yep.
super cool one. I've only bought 2 packs of Spider-Man since the set come
Mm-hmm.
out, and like all my Walmart pack luck, I actually did pull a foil Gwenum, so I was like, oh well, that's a nice
Nice.
deal.
Yeah, that's
I
sick.
might,
Yeah.
if unless one of you guys wanted it, I'm probably gonna ship it off on Cardsfree or something, um, which I'm gonna use a little bit more since I'm here and not really using a lot of my cards. Um,
That's fair.
That's fair. But yeah, like I think that's how like sets should be, is like the
Mm-hmm.
special fancy art should be expensive, and then like a playable version of the card should be accessible to everyone. Like
Right.
I really like how Pokemon does it, where it's like the regular card pennies, and then it's like, oh, this super rare chase one, that's where the money's at, and it's like it
Right.
lets people who want to play the game, while collectors can
right.
still collect.
I think a couple
Exactly.
years ago with Pokemon, the winning championship deck, you could buy the entire list for under $20
Yeah,
Exactly.
because standard, base versions of Pokemon cards were so cheap. The the
They just
base
are.
version of the deck would be so cheap. You just get it for basically nothing, right? Meanwhile, a base version of even just a Magic set right now, the base version of a lot of cards for like say a standard deck or a modern deck is going to run you for the whole deck 300-400 bucks.
easily.
Yeah, depending on the deck, yeah. But
Like there are
compared to what
always
it was
budget
for a while,
options.
that's a little bit better than it used to be. At least for standard. Modern and older formats, those make a little bit more sense to me for them being more expensive since they have bigger card pools for cards that have been out for longer.
Right.
But yeah,
Yeah, it has been since I've joined in the game, one of my favorite ways to play Magic has been the pre-release. I
absolutely.
loved going to pre-releases. That's basically what my main event was. I didn't do FNM drafts or standard events really. I didn't do any modern or legacy or vintage, nothing like that, right? I did pre-releases. So every 3 months, I'd go to a pre-release, maybe two if I felt like I could, right? But I mean, for a lot of that time, we didn't have a nearby game store, and so I'd have to
Nope.
drive like an hour into Boise to try to get in there. There was these pre-releases every couple months, and I absolutely loved them. And I think up until I came back in 2019, I went to every single pre-release. Like I did not miss one because I just loved them that much. And since I got back in 2019 from my little break, I have gone to maybe 3 pre-releases.
Oh wow.
Um, I went to the Theros Beyond Death pre-release because Theros is my favorite plane, is my favorite set. I had to go. I went to March of the Machines pre-release because that was really cool of a set, and I really wanted to try that out.
I was also getting back into Magic and wanted to
Yeah,
play
that's
with
the
you.
one where you and I, yeah, we brought you back into it, dragged you back under with us, and I think that's it. Maybe it's just been the two. I really can't think of other pre-releases I went to. I wanted to go to Bloomburrow, didn't get a chance to. Wanted to go to a couple others, just never got to it. And so pre-releases, because there's so many now, I just can't keep up, right? I just can't
Yeah.
keep
Yeah.
going to all these pre-releases. Granted, I think I am going to try to see if I can make it to the Avatar pre-release next week because that does sound super fun.
I love this set so much. It looks so
Yeah,
much
It
fun.
looks so good.
it looks so good, guys. Some of the special guest cards are a little wonky, but
Right.
most of the inset cards are actually really cool.
Yeah, that's for sure. You're trying to say something there, Zach.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say that basically, like I remember growing up and like the pre-releases were like big events. Like I would look forward
Mm-hmm.
to
Oh,
like the
huge.
Saturday, and then we'd all drive up to Boise or whatever and go to the
Yep.
pre-release, and everyone would crack open their packs together and be like, dude, check out this God's End or whatever from Theros. Like,
I was just
dude,
gonna
this
say,
is
do you
crazy.
remember the
Like,
pre-release where I
yeah,
opened 2 godsends in my pre-release kit?
literally. Like, and then it was like kind of a community, or like, oh yeah, I can't really afford a pre-release right now, and then your friend would be like, oh, well, I'll just pay for you and just give me the cards, and like, so you still get to play, and whatever you win, you
Right.
get to keep, and then and it's just it felt
Yeah.
like a big event, and now it's just like it feels like every weekend's pre-release weekend.
Every
It's
6
like I
weeks or
don't even
so.
know the cards are in there. Like,
Yep.
Yeah.
It's every 6 weeks or so now.
And the
But
pre-releases aren't even well attended. Spider-Man was infamously a very low attendance pre-release. Like nobody went
yeah.
to
exactly.
that one. I
Uh,
think the local game stores around me, one of them didn't fire.
yeah.
Another one had 4 to 5 people, and another one had maybe 10, maybe. And that
Yeah,
was like the big one around here had 10 people for a pre-release. And when we went
Uh,
growing up, there was at least
it was
30
like
to
sold
40
out.
people. Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah,
it
easily.
if you didn't call a week in advance, maybe 2 weeks in advance, you weren't getting in.
Oh
Right.
yeah, yeah.
And that's also another thing is like with kind of going back to the topic we're on about how keeping up. It's so hard since stuff's coming out so often with all that stuff. But the one thing I wanted to throw out there, since we're talking about older pre-releases, for the people who might not know or are a little bit newer to Magic, back when I started attending pre-releases around Return to Ravnica and up till pretty recently, the only thing you got for Magic product wise was what you opened at a pre-release.
Yep.
So you go to pre-release, you get your 6 packs of the set, and then you build your deck out of that and you play with it, and then you can get prize packs of the same set, and that was it. You'd either
Yeah.
participate in another pre-release or
Wow.
wait until the next week to get more.
Yeah. And that was such a hassle for us too, because like I
Yeah,
said, we all grew up in the same town. Backstory for us a little bit, but we all grew up in the same town, and it was an hour to the next game store. We did not have
Yeah.
one closer, and so to have to go to this store an hour away, all of us carpooling to go to this pre-release, and if any of us wanted product, it was another hour next week, and that was huge for us because at the time, Zach and I were in high school. We didn't really have a lot of disposable income to be spending on gas on all these trips, and not all of us had cars. And so it wasn't as feasible to try to go back and get more product. We just had to be happy with what we opened from the pre-release and trade with
right.
each other for what we didn't have. Heck, I don't even think most of us knew about ordering cards for the longest
Oh
time.
yeah.
I think I was basically the only one who really ordered cards for a long time, and
You
I
were
just
the
did it through
card
eBay.
dealer for our
You
group.
were
Yes.
the card dealer, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you show up with
Yeah.
your milk crates of cards, and we just rifle through them. You never even played.
Right.
You just had to sit there while we
Yeah.
played and traded, and you just traded.
At
Yeah.
least for a couple months straight, it was I show up and it's like Nate's here, yeah, and then it's just let's do trades, let's do trades, and I.
Yeah,
As the person trading my cards for their cards, I'd always be the person to look up the value of cards. Uh, Mostly using TCG Player because that's been around for basically forever at this
right.
point. And then just going through
Yeah,
and then like mentally keeping track of the numbers. Oh man, I do not
It's
miss
a
those
lot.
days.
Yeah.
this was before any of those trading apps made it so much
Yeah,
easier, right? Before we had
mm,
like Mana
mana
Box
box.
and the
Oh, I
whatever
love mana box
the
so
other
much.
card scanning apps that I have, where you can set up a trade and it'll tell you the value and who's got more value on their side. This is way before any of that, kids. Okay, we just had to look it up on TCG Player and be like, I don't know, this one's listed here, this one's listed here. I think this is our value. This should be fine, right?
Yeah, and this was also me bringing my laptop with me
Right,
for the trade
Yep.
right.
because
Again,
this was
before
before any of us had smartphones.
yeah, not a lot of us. I remember specifically one trip to Boise. None of us had smartphones except for one of us. We had to
Yep.
print off the directions because the guy with the smartphone's battery was so low. Zach, do you remember this?
I
We were
do. I do.
driving down and there was a fly in the car, and we were all so mad at it. We're like, hey, let's roll down the windows to get the fly out of the car. But nobody was holding on to the
To the map.
directions.
Yeah.
And so it flew out the window, and we all panicked. We were like, we don't know where we're going. What are we gonna do? It was like this is before we had cell phones, man. Before any of us had smartphones, we couldn't just figure out directions.
Yeah, no, it's definitely some crazy stuff there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good old
But
previous
it's a
stuff.
lot of
But
product coming out.
right, resolving the stack.
well,
Going back to the product.
one last thing in response. One of these days we'll set up like a good 20-30 minutes where we'll just tell the story of how we all started playing together and the
Yeah.
sagas of Friday nights
True.
at Zach's house.
Good
Yep.
times. Good times.
Those are good times. But yeah, I think, how do we keep up with the rate of Magic product coming out mentally, financially? We don't. We pick and choose what we want to invest in. We pick and choose what we want to engage in, and that's about it. If
Yep.
Yeah.
we can't, financially, if we want singles, we go with singles, or we use a site like, I'm trying to use CardSphere more to get a couple things, or we trade with our buddies for what we need. But at this point, yeah, I think we've given up on trying to keep up with every single Magic set.
Right.
I was not even
I
talking about like the forced scarcity, like with secret
Yeah,
layers.
screw that secret layer, man.
secret layers are ones that I just get if I can. I
Yeah.
do participate in a lot of pre-releases. It's just a local card shop, Pro Soul Games, out in Ontario,
Shout out,
Oregon.
they're great.
Yep,
They are great.
they have a fun program that they do for pre-release weekend. So they do all their pre-releases Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and they have 5 different pre-releases. 3 of them are sealed. One of them is two-headed giant sealed, and then they have a draft. And if you pre-sign up for all of those, which you can get a bundle for, making it a whole lot easier to sign up for them, you get into a free extra event. The VIP event is what they call it. And then you get a free pre-release kit, and the winner of that single elimination event gets a whole box of the set. So it's a fun way for me to get my hands on a bunch of the new set, and also to potentially win a box, which I've not won the box in the last while, but I have decided to do a draw with the people in the finals for the VIP like all of this year. The only time I haven't got
Yeah.
to the finals for the VIP event was for Final Fantasy set. And I was unfortunately for Magic wise, but fortunately for, social life and fun stuff, I was on a trip to Florida at
Right.
that time.
Yeah, I think despite my constant record of going to pre-releases, I still have not, had a flawless pre-release. And it will bug me to no end that all of my pre-release performances have been like X1s. Either 3-1, 4-1, depending on the size.
Yeah.
I had one that got so close, I think, with Dragons of Tarkir. Or no, it was Kaladesh. My pre-release kit was effectively Teamer Energy, which was a big standard deck at the time, and my pre-release kit had like all of the pieces in it, and it was so good. I was just going crazy. But my final opponent was the one who opened up a hangerback walker and in the invention frame, and that just wiped me out in
Oh
the in
wow.
2 games, and I was so mad.
Wait, did you play against Ben?
I did, yeah. It was Ben. Ben wiped me out with that.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
so mad.
I have that
That was the
hanger back
closest I'd
walker.
come to it. Do you still have that?
I
You
Yeah.
need to
I
get
have
that signed by Josh.
walker.
I don't want to sign it, man. I've signed one card in my life. I feel kind of proud about this one card that I've signed as a side tangent. It was right before I moved down here to Utah, and one of the regulars down at Phoenix Fire handed me his copy of Tyam that he had purchased because he had
Oh,
been
hell yeah.
inspired by me playing Tyam. And he's
Amazing.
like, "Hey man, I want you to sign this because you are like the Tyam guy here, and I really want to play him now. And so will you sign it before you leave?" And so it like, dude, I about teared up. I was like, "Oh, thanks, man. It was a great kid. I loved playing Magic with him." And so yeah, I signed the little card. I'm like, "All right, there we go. That's my first signature done."
It's gonna be
Nice.
famous one day.
And it was on Tyam, man, which I'm very happy with. I'm very happy to
Yeah.
sign Tyams.
Right. I have
So in the future,
I've signed a few cards, but all the cards I signed were for a friend group that I had from Rexburg when I was going to school there. We had a group of 7 guys that were all regulars for Magic, and we came up with a funny Facebook group back when, basically you used Facebook for just Messenger at that point. And we had the away team. And so when we all met back up for one of our buddies' wedding, we got like 8 copies of the card Elsewhere Flask. And we all signed all 8 copies of Elsewhere Flask to just basically be like, hey, we're not around each other all the time. We're elsewhere, but we're all still friends. So it's the only time
I like
I've
that.
signed Magic cards.
that is really cool. Yeah, so for future reference, when, our fame inevitably becomes manifest, and we are a very popular podcast, and people come back to listen to this first episode. Just remember that I like to sign TIAMs. I will sign every TIAM that I come across. Also, Talrand, Sky Summoner, but we'll get to that story later. And Nate will sign all the Elsewhere flasks that
Well,
you want.
maybe that's a special card,
Maybe,
but
maybe not. Maybe he doesn't want to ruin the
that's a
specialness of
special
that.
card. But well, I guess we could kind of throw out there, kind of tangent with this thing, pet cards that when we get big and famous that we're willing to sign. I personally am
Oh
a
yeah.
massive fan of my boy Karuga. It's
Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
three,
a good
that's
one.
right.
and then double Simic, so a blue or a green. For a Hippo Dinosaur, that when it enters the battlefield, you draw a card for each other non-land permanent with a mana value of 3 or greater.
And companion.
Yeah, and it's a companion. Companion costs a little steep. You got to have your deck full of things that have a mana value of 3 or greater, including spells. So it makes a really hard building restriction. So I haven't done it with a companion yet. I might do it with an adventure deck because you can kind of squeak around that a little bit. But that's a card I will happily sign anytime, because that little hippo boy, he is my
Hippo
best friend.
Dinosaur.
I
Such
love
a
that
good
little
typing.
hippo. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Zach, any cards you'll sign?
Any card you want me to sign.
You just don't care.
I'm
No pet
more
cards.
than happy to sign anything you want me to sign.
I feel like there's one specific pet card you had back in the day that you totally would have signed, but
I
I can't
mean,
think of it off the
we
If it was
top of my
could
back in
head.
the
bring up
day, Safe Haven or Safe Passage. Safe Passage.
Riot Control.
Riot Control.
Riot Control is what I'm making you sign.
Yeah.
You're gonna sign so many Riot Controls from that stupid Boros deck.
right. There's a couple other cards that I can think of with Zach, mostly from the ghetto proxies he made a couple times.
Afrios. Good
Afrios.
times.
Afrios,
Yep,
man.
yep. Maybe
I'll do little
someday
doodles on your
Gosh,
card. There you
all
go.
Athreoses to be Afrios and give him some
Yeah,
Aphrios.
yeah. I'll alter your
yeah, that
cards
was
with my little doodles.
Yep.
that's so good. Yeah.
So
All right. Well, those are the questions we're going to answer for today. But before we close out, I want to, give everybody a chance to kind of share stuff we're doing outside the game here in Exile. What other things are we interested in? Right now, I'll say I am attempting to once again break into No Man's Sky. I know it's a good game. It looks really fun. I've played it a lot. I've had fun with it, but there's so many different systems in the game now.
Yep.
It's a struggle for a new player, but it is fun when I've played it, and I'm really trying to get into it more now.
It's definitely gotten a lot better now too. Once it's been out for a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because when it first
Yeah.
launched, a little rough, but
right. If you guys haven't seen the internet historian video on it, I think he did one. But there's a
nice.
great doc about what happened with No Man's Sky and how the development team was like, "Yep, we screwed up. We're gonna make it better," and then they've definitely succeeded in making it better.
Yeah, such a good example of a good, honest game studio who said, yes, we have this game that didn't quite launch the way we wanted it. Yes, we know you paid $60 for this and we're probably disappointed, but give us time,
Yeah,
Let us fix it, let us work on it. And
the
the
potential's
community,
there.
some of them stuck with it from the beginning, but a lot of people were just like, nah, man, sorry, we're out. And I believe Sony dropped them too, didn't they? Like Sony let them go out of their studio, and so they kind of worked on their own timetable. And now, almost 10 years later, No Man's Sky is to me like one of the best space survival games out there with the most in-depth mechanics. A lot of things are polished. It is like if Warframe took the time to actually polish its mechanics, in my opinion. Like, it is so good.
Yeah,
Definitely blows Starfield out of the water with how good it is.
Yeah, Starfield not great, guys.
Starfield
I'm sorry.
wishes.
just needed time. Yep.
That's cool. What about you, Zach? What are you up to these nowadays?
Working, and then just hanging out. Started therapy, which has been really nice.
Nice.
Oh yeah, props for that.
Good
Yeah.
general figuring out life stuff. So overall,
Sick.
pretty good though.
Yeah,
Nice.
we
Yeah. You
support
find
therapy here at Manabonded.
right. You find a good
Absolutely.
therapist.
Yes, vibe very well with her.
Nice. Right on. Yeah,
That's awesome.
I'm looking into doing that. I probably have to work it into my my work schedule to where I can go in later one day and hopefully do morning stuff. But yeah. No, I will double that sentiment Josh said, that here at Mana Bonded we are all for that therapy.
Absolutely.
Highly recommend therapy to anyone. Like even if you don't think you need it, It's still helpful no matter what.
Right.
I've had a very short experience with therapy, where it was just really like 2 or 3 weeks of appointments. But even that I found like immensely helpful,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and really stuck with me.
Yeah. No, it's great getting help from people who know a lot about help and about how your brain works and how a lot of the other stuff works, because we're all people. We all need help from each other,
Yep.
and so reaching out to get that help is great.
Also a great way to
Yeah.
relax after stressful Magic games, you know?
Yeah,
Be able
right.
to
And
get
then
the
Yes.
also,
coping mechanisms you need.
sometimes it's nice to get that outside perspective from somebody that's kind of disconnected from your life, because they're like, oh, I'm only hearing your side of it, but I can help you process and be like, hey, what about their point of view? Or they can be like, you're valid for your feelings for stuff.
Like, how
It can
could we
just be
do it
nice to bounce
better?
things,
Yeah.
yeah, off of people who
Yeah.
aren't really connected to you in your daily life, because sometimes you just don't want to share certain parts of stuff going on with people that are close to you.
Yep.
Right. Sitting down with a therapist and having them ask, is a mental misstep in the room with us right now, and worrying about different, just
Mental
just
misstep
having
can't
somebody you
hurt you
can.
here.
Yeah, mental misstep's not here. He can't
We have
hurt
a
you. You're
defense grid.
okay. Yeah. No, absolutely, 100% support therapy. Go to therapy if you want, even if you want to. Just go.
Yeah. You don't get a
Right,
choice now. You're going to therapy.
right.
Yeah, go find a therapist. That's
Go
that's
go find,
required.
if you can afford it and you can work it in your schedule, and you can make it work. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and if you can't afford it, some jobs have therapists available
Yeah,
or programs to help you get therapy. I had one job in particular that said if you experience some pretty rough stuff on the job, we do have therapists on staff who will help you through these things.
yeah,
It was, I think I've told you about this job. I don't know, maybe I'll get in trouble for saying it if I say what it was, but I worked for a company that had a contract to moderate TikTok live feeds, and there are some things you can see if you do that.
Yeah.
And so they were like, if you see terrible things, then please come talk to us.
yep,
Which cool for that company,
right.
Gotta make you feel better so you can see more terrible things.
right. Anyway, Nate, what are you up to lately?
So for me, I'm kind of in a similar vein as Zach, working a lot. But for me, upcoming the start of next month, I'm going to be going to Brandon Sanderson's convention in Salt Lake that he puts on every year.
Oh yeah,
Oh, very
It's called
fun.
Dragonsteel Nexus, mostly just referred to as that Nexus part because Dragonsteel is the name of his company as a whole. So they kind of wanted to move away
what a
from using
dope
that
name
for
for a
just
company.
right. And it's also like also stuff with like his main book series, because he's the author of Mistborn. He finished Wheel of Time, probably most well known for the Stormlight Archive.
Yep,
Fantastic author. He's my favorite author of all time.
and a Magic
Um,
player. He
and he plays
has
Yeah.
Magic.
he
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
a commander
And
cube that
so
he's built and will bring to events where you draft a commander deck out of this little cube, and it's got like custom cards in it. It's really cool.
and custom rules where you can
Yep.
add colors to legendary creatures and do some other things to make it cooler.
Didn't he also just visit Wizards
Yes.
headquarters recently?
He both visited Wizards of the Coast headquarters, and he had Mark Rosewater at his evil villain lair. That's a fun
Oh
thing
wow.
about Brandon Sanderson is a lot of authors are like, I want to do something weird and quirky when I get famous. His thing is he wanted to build an evil villain lair, and
That's so funny.
so people who aren't familiar with Brandon Sanderson know Brandon Sanderson is a fantastically warm and inviting and open person, and the fact that he wanted to build an evil villain later is super hilarious because he is one of the nicest people that I have ever met. He is all for like making space for people. He had a huge talk
He's a
at his
teddy bear.
last convention. Yeah, he had a huge talk at his last convention where it's like, hey guys, we don't need to gatekeep reading. We want to have as many people get into reading as we can. We want to have this. If we got people coming from stuff like Akatar or Fourth Wing or Throne of Glass or all these romance fantasy things, we want to open them with open arms.
Speaking of someone who's just barely gotten into his works, I read the first two books in the first Mistborn trilogy, and while the second book was a little bit of a slog, I absolutely love the books as a whole and the story as a whole. I need to hurry up and get the third one so I can finally finish that little trilogy. They're incredible books, and I think if we ever do, if we ever do a question on like what secret layers would you like to see, Nate, I think your first answer is Brandon Sanderson and his works.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I want a
Hey,
whole universes
real
beyond.
possibility.
No, I think
Yeah,
they've approached him actually, and they've said, "Hey,
they did.
would you be interested?" Brandon Sanderson said, "Yes, absolutely," and then there was radio silence.
Mhm.
So
So
Yeah.
what happened with that was when they started doing Universes Beyond stuff. This was a little bit after The Walking Dead. They reached out to him and were like, "Hey, would you be interested in doing a Universe Beyond set?" And he said, "Absolutely. I love Magic the Gathering." And then stuff started getting announced, like Lord of the Rings and these other things. So it's like, yes, I'm probably still on the list, but clearly the list is higher priority
right,
things. So it
Yeah.
might be a while before you see my
like I
stuff.
think it would be very flattering that that somebody might see his work and Tolkien's work kind of side by side, as both very
Right.
influential fantasy writers. But I think even he can admit that he's not quite as popular as Lord of the Rings is. Um,
Well, he'll straight up tell you that. Yeah, he said on multiple times that like those guys are the things. Yeah, he's like he looks at himself and other authors of his gen as basically third generation fantasy.
yeah,
Tolkien, C.S. Lewis is like the grandpa, and then you got like George R. R. Martin and um, Robert Jordan as like the parents, and then him and a lot of other people on his level as like the third generation of fantasy author
right.
people.
Makes sense.
But yeah, kind of going back to resolving this back to what I'm getting up to is with this convention with Nexus, I am working on trying to get some cosplays put together in one of his book series. Uh, I guess minor spoilers. It's not really anything too crazy, but if you don't like spoilers, then uh, sorry.
Close your ears.
In one of the books, a main character, I'll leave it at that, won't give any names, has a sheep named Molly, and Molly is this character's favorite sheep because his family is sheep herders. And I thought it would be funny to do a kind of costume as a sheep. So I'm going to show up to the convention as Molly, and I'm going to have a sign around my neck that says, "Hi, my name is Molly. Please take me to main character's name and insert it here."
And just do
If you
photos
know,
with
you
all
know.
the main character people who dress up with us in the main
Yeah,
character.
exactly. And then I've also done a test run for making a little plush of a sheep. And so if I have time to do that, I'm going to try and have a dozen or so of these little plushes. So if people take me to Zeph, I can be like, "Oh, thank you," and then I can give them a
And then
little
give
plush
them
sheep.
one.
That's adorable.
Yeah,
I
Amazing.
love that so much.
right. Yeah, and so it's going to be a funny cosplay thing. I'm also doing another one of his characters, or I'm going to try and do another one of his characters named Wayne. He's from Mistborn, but he's in the second Mistborn books. A lot of Brandon Sanderson's work is interconnected, and there's giant time skips between some of the books. So the Mistborn books that Josh is reading, there's 3 books in it. And then there's like 300 years before the second set of books take place. And the
Oh wow.
second set of, while the first trilogy is gothic, medieval fantasy kind of stuff, Renaissance-ish kind of thing. The second trilogy is Wild West.
Right. I think you had described it to me as Wild West buddy cop novels.
Yes, they're Wild West buddy cop novels because you have 2 characters. You have Wax and Wayne. Wax is a
I
nobleman.
hate that, but I love that.
Wax is a nobleman who has kind of got thrown back into doing his noble duties. He left his family for a while and was a police officer in the roughs. He's basically a Wild West sheriff. And kind of gets thrown back into that Wild West life when Wayne shows up and starts explaining some stuff that's going on. Wayne is the character I want to play. Wayne is a funny, wisecracking character that loves disguising himself as other people, and he is known for wearing all kinds of different hats and fighting with what's called dueling canes. Since in the Mistborn world, you got people who push metal with their mind, you can't really use swords. So people basically just use wooden swords pretty much, and they call them dueling canes. You could use them as an actual cane, but a lot of people who fight with them don't. They just beat people up with them. So
Amazing.
uh,
Yeah,
I think he'd be fun to be as
that
well.
sounds really
And
cool.
he's also really known for trading things. So a big part of Brandon Sanderson's convention that's been growing over the couple years that I've gone is trinket trading, which happens at a lot of different conventions. I don't know if you guys are super familiar with what that is.
Yep.
Not at all. I
Okay.
have not been to any convention ever.
So trinket trading is a thing where when you go to an event or you go to a Renaissance fair or you go to something where there's a lot of people, you can bring a lot of little trinkets you have, and then you can be like, hey, do you want to trade? And so I have these bracelets that I made last year that got a little message on them. You will be warm again. It's from one of the books. A fantastic thing. It's a thing that's helped me get through a lot of hard times. So I was like, I want to wear it since I'm not really a tattoo guy. I was like, I want a way to be able to wear it
Right.
without actually getting it tattooed, although I have thought about it. And I would trade it, and I've got a cool little leaf on it that says, what's one more try, which is another nod to things. And so trinket trading is basically you just talk to people, meet new people, and you swap cool little trinkets and knickknacks with each other. You end up coming home with a lot of cool things that have little sentimental memories to go along with the convention. And since
That is cool.
Wayne is great with the trading, he already trades stuff already. It's kind of a easy way to get in there to trade with people.
That
Yeah.
is really
That
cool.
is really
I like
cool.
that a lot. All right. Well, I think we have talked about everything we're going to talk about today.
Yep.
And yeah, so from here on out, I think our plan is we want to try to upload weekly, have more episodes for you guys, hopefully every Friday, although that will depend. As I previously stated, the editor of this podcast will be me, and I have no prior audio editing experience. So if things are bad, please let me know. If things need to be worked on, just give me tips, advice. I'm way open to that. But yeah, it's probably going to be a weekly podcast where we're going to try to upload every Friday, depending on how rough of an editing process that is. We may push that out to Saturday uploads. We may do bi-weekly uploads. We will see. But one thing we are committed to is we are going to run this podcast for at least 1 year. We'll be
That
coming to
is the
you
goal.
guys every week, every other week. However, we decide we're going to go for 1 year. At the end of the year, we'll take a look at it. If we're having fun, we're going to keep it going. If we're not having fun, we'll stop and we'll enjoy the project while it lasted. So,
Do you want to shout out
yeah.
the email?
Yes, absolutely. So that's probably a good idea. So we get more questions, huh? Thank you, Zach. So yeah, if you guys have any questions you want to send in to us to have answered, our email is manabonded@gmail.com. You can also reach us there on any and all social media platforms. So far, we've put them up on things like Instagram. We are up on X or Twitter. We are not up yet quite on Blue Sky or TikTok because we don't do a lot of video content for TikTok, but Blue Sky, I'm sure we can get something set up. These podcasts will be available wherever podcasts are found, thanks to RSS feeds and other things like that. The music you're going to hear before and after these episodes is done by Steve Brown. You can find his music at stevebrownsongs.com. And the image, I don't know the usernames for the image. Nate, do you know any socials that you want shouted out for that one?
Yeah, give me a second. I will have to talk to my brother about how to pronounce that last part of his name, but it's Shadow Eclopex. He does a lot of fun storybook style art, and so we'll try and get some links up there for art for if you guys like the art and you want to get some commission stuff. He's got some pretty cool stuff that he can do for you.
Yeah, I've liked the
Perfect.
art I've seen from him so far, and yeah, he's the one who did our podcast image. So yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, send them in to us at manabonded@gmail.com. And until then, we will see you guys next week.
See ya.
Okay, see ya.
We need some more stuff to go in between. We're so bad at this. It's fine. We can edit all this out.
The start of it was a
Harder
little
than
rough.
I thought it would be.
Well, what I think about it is this is just structured yapping with the boys.